The arrival. The massive alien cruiser emerged from hyperspace, its sleek hull gleaming in the light of Earth's sun. On board, Ambassador Zixera of the Galactic Confederation straightened her tentacles nervously. After cycles of debate, the Confederation had finally agreed to send a delegation to learn from the most feared warriors in the known galaxy, humans. As the ship entered Earth's atmosphere, Zixera addressed the assembled alien students. "Remember," she said, her translator converting her clicks and whistles into standard galactic, "we are here to learn, not to judge. The humans' methods may seem unconventional, but their effectiveness is undeniable." The cruiser touched down on the landing pad of the Terran Combined Forces Academy. As the ramp lowered, Zixera led her charges out into the bright sunlight. The gravity was stronger than most were used to, and more than a few stumbled. Waiting for them was a tall, broad-shouldered human female in a crisp military uniform. Her dark skin contrasted sharply with her white hair, and her eyes held a hardness that made even the bravest aliens flinch. "Welcome to Earth," she said, her voice carrying across the pad. "I am General Samantha Chen, your primary instructor for this course. You may call me General or Mom. Nothing else." Zixera moved forward, extending a tentacle in what she hoped was the correct human greeting. "General Chen, I am Ambassador Zixera. On behalf of the Galactic Confederation, we thank you for this opportunity." Chen's grip was firm but not crushing. "Ambassador, we're glad to have you. Though I must admit, I'm surprised the Confederation finally took us up on our offer. What changed their minds?" Zixera's skin flushed a deep blue. "Recent events have made it clear that our understanding of warfare is inadequate. The swarm incursion in the Orion Arm was a wake-up call." Chen nodded grimly. "The swarm. Nasty business. We offered to help, you know." "Yes," Zixera said, her voice low. "Many on the council regret declining that offer now." A series of loud thuds interrupted their conversation. One of the alien students, a massive four-armed Cronin named Grash, had collapsed under Earth's gravity. Chen raised an eyebrow. "First lesson," she called out to the group. "Adaptability. Earth's gravity is higher than most of you are used to. You'll need to adjust quickly because we won't be slowing down for anyone." She turned to a human aide. "Get them to the medical bay for gravity adjustments. Class begins at 600 hours tomorrow. Anyone who's late will wish the swarm had gotten them instead." As the aliens were led away, many leaning on each other for support, Zixera remained behind. "General," she said hesitantly, "I must ask, why did you agree to teach us? Many in the Confederation fear humans. They believe you're too aggressive, too unpredictable." Chen's eyes gleamed with an emotion Zixera couldn't quite identify. "Ambassador, do you know what humans call Earth?" Zixera shook her head. "A death world," Chen said. "Our entire history has been a struggle for survival against a planet that seems designed to kill us. Every advancement, every technology, every tactic we've developed has been in service of that survival. We're not naturally aggressive. We're adaptable. And now we're going to teach your people how to survive too." She gestured towards the academy buildings. "Come on, Ambassador. You've got a lot to learn, and we've got a war to prepare for." As they walked, Zixera couldn't shake the feeling that she and her students were about to discover why humans were both the most feared and respected species in the galaxy. The real lessons, she realized, were just beginning. First lessons. The lecture hall buzzed with nervous energy as the alien students filed in, their bodies still adjusting to Earth's gravity. General Chen stood at the front, her posture rigid, eyes scanning the room. As the last student settled, she began without preamble. "Welcome to Human Warfare 101. Chen's voice carried effortlessly. "You're here because your species have failed to grasp a fundamental truth. War isn't about having the biggest guns or the most advanced technology. It's about will, adaptability, and the capacity to do whatever it takes to survive." She tapped a holopad, and a 3D projection of Earth filled the room. "This is our homeworld. a death world, as you call it. Every day here is a battle for survival. We fought the elements, predators, and each other, and we've won, time and time again. Grashk, the Cronin student, raised one of his four hands. But surely, General, with your current technology, you no longer need such primitive instincts. Chen's laugh was sharp and humorless. Primitive. Tell me, Grash, what would your people do if all your technology failed tomorrow? If you were stranded on a hostile world with nothing but your wits? The Cronin's exoskeleton paled. We would likely perish. Exactly. Chen nodded. Humans? We'd survive. We'd adapt. We'd thrive. That's what makes us dangerous. That's what we're going to teach you. She changed the hologram to display various human weapons through history. We'll start with the basics, the evolution of human warfare. From stone axes to nuclear weapons, every tool we've created has been dual purpose, to survive our world and to fight our enemies. As Chen delved into the history of human conflict, the aliens listened with a mix of horror and fascination. Tales of guerrilla warfare, scorched earth tactics, and psychological operations painted a picture of a species that refused to give up, no matter the odds. Zixera, observing from the back, felt a chill run down her spine. The humans' capacity for violence was matched only by their ingenuity in applying it. After several hours of intense lecture, Chen announced, "Time for a practical demonstration. Follow me to the training grounds." The aliens trailed behind her, murmuring amongst themselves. As they reached a vast open field, Chen turned to address them. "This exercise will test your ability to think like a human. You'll be divided into teams. Your objective: capture the flag at the center of the field. Use any means necessary, but remember, in real combat, there are no rules." She pointed to a nearby table laden with various objects. "These are your tools, everyday items you might find if stranded. You have 10 minutes to strategize. Then the exercise begins." As the aliens huddled around the table, examining ropes, pipes, and miscellaneous electronics, Zixera approached Chen. "General, I'm concerned. Some of these items could cause serious harm if misused." Chen's expression remained impassive. "Ambassador, in real warfare, anything can be a weapon. It's time your people understood that." The exercise began, and chaos erupted. The Cronin team, led by Grashk, attempted to use brute force, charging across the field. They were quickly bogged down by a makeshift tripwire set by the nimble arachnid team. A group of gelatinous blorbs surprised everyone by absorbing small pebbles and launching them at high speeds, creating an effective ranged attack. But it was a quiet Tyrellian named Vix who ultimately captured the flag. While the others fought, Vix had repurposed the electronics to create a rudimentary cloaking device, slipping past the defenses unnoticed. As the dust settled, Chen addressed the panting, bruised students. "Congratulations, Vix, you thought outside the box. You adapted. That's the human way." She turned to the group. "The rest of you relied too heavily on your natural abilities or obvious solutions. In real combat, that gets you killed. Humans assume every fight could be their last. We use everything at our disposal, no matter how unconventional." Grashk, nursing a bruised arm, spoke up. "But General, surely there must be rules, ethics in warfare." Chen's eyes hardened. "Ethics? Tell that to an enemy who's trying to exterminate your species. In a fair fight, the better fighter wins. Humans don't believe in fair fights. We believe in surviving." As the students dispersed, shaken by the day's lessons, Zixera remained behind. "General," she said softly, "I'm beginning to understand why the Confederation both fears and respects humanity. Your ways are unsettling." Chen's expression softened slightly. "Ambassador, we don't relish violence, but we've learned, through countless hardships, that being prepared for the worst is the best way to ensure peace. Your people need to understand that the galaxy isn't always kind. Sometimes, survival requires doing the unthinkable." As they walked back to the academy, the setting sun cast long shadows across the field. Zixera couldn't shake the feeling that these lessons were just the beginning. The true test, she realized, would come when theory met reality. And somehow, she knew that day wasn't far off. The humans were preparing them for something. The question was, what? Crisis simulation. The following weeks were a blur of intense training and mind-bending lectures. The alien students, once skeptical of human methods, now found themselves grudgingly impressed by the depth and complexity of Terran warfare tactics. On a crisp morning, as the students gathered for their daily briefing, General Chen's expression was grimmer than usual. "Today," she announced, "we're moving beyond theory. You'll face a full-scale crisis simulation. This exercise will test everything you've learned about human warfare and push you to your limits." The holographic projector flickered to life, displaying a detailed star map. "This is the Arcturus system," Chen explained. "Your mission is to defend it against an incoming swarm fleet. You'll be divided into teams, each controlling a different aspect of the defense. You have 1 hour to prepare your strategy." As the aliens broke into their assigned groups, murmurs of concern rippled through the room. The swarm was no mere simulation for many of them. It was a very real threat that had devastated countless worlds. Zixera, observing from her usual spot, noticed the humans setting up complex monitoring equipment. "General," she inquired, "what exactly are you hoping to achieve with this exercise?" Chen's eyes never left the screens before her. "Ambassador, in real combat, there's no time for second-guessing or moral debates. We need to know if your people can make the hard choices when it matters most." The simulation began, and chaos erupted almost immediately. The swarm ships, represented by red dots on the holographic display, poured into the system in overwhelming numbers. Grashk, leading the defensive fleet, immediately advocated for a head-on assault. "We must meet them with all our strength," he bellowed. But Vix, the clever Turellian who had won the previous exercise, disagreed. "No, we should scatter our forces, use hit-and-run tactics, wear them down." As the two argued, precious time was lost. The swarm drew closer to the populated planets, and panic set in among the defenders. It was a quiet Mendaxian named Lori who finally broke the deadlock. "What if," she suggested hesitantly, "we evacuated one of the outer planets and used it as a trap?" The room fell silent. Chen leaned forward, her interest piqued. Lori continued, her confidence growing. "We could raid the planet's core to explode when enough swarm ships enter orbit. It would take out a significant portion of their fleet and buy us time to regroup." Grashk's exoskeleton paled. "But the civilian casualties would be far less than if we lose the entire system," Lori countered, her voice firm. After a moment of tense silence, the team agreed to Lori's plan. They worked feverishly to implement it, evacuating as many civilians as possible before setting their trap. The simulated battle that followed was brutal. The swarm, true to form, swarmed the seemingly vulnerable outer planet. When the trap was sprung, the resulting explosion wiped out nearly half the enemy fleet. Taking advantage of the swarm's disarray, the defenders launched a counterattack, employing a mix of Grash's brute force and Vix's guerrilla tactics. After hours of intense fighting, they emerged victorious. As the simulation ended, the alien students sat in stunned silence, processing what they had just experienced. Chen's voice cut through the quiet. "Congratulations, you've survived your first encounter with the swarm. But at what cost?" She pulled up a casualty report on the main screen. The numbers were staggering. "You sacrificed millions to save billions. Was it worth it?" Lori, the architect of their victory, spoke up, her voice trembling. I didn't think it would be so many." Chen's expression was unreadable. In real war, the numbers are more than digits on a screen. Their lives, families, entire civilizations. Human history is full of such choices. It's why we fight so hard to avoid war, and why we're so terrifying when we're forced into it. She surveyed the room, meeting each student's eyes. You all showed adaptability today. You made hard choices, but don't ever forget the weight of those choices. That's what sets us apart from the swarm. We understand the cost of victory. As the students filed out, shaken by the experience, SCiFi approached Chen. General, I must protest. This simulation was too intense, too real. Some of our students are traumatized. Chen's response was cool. Good. Better to be traumatized in a simulation than paralyzed in real combat. The galaxy is unforgiving, Ambassador. We're preparing them for that reality. SCiFi's skin darkened with emotion. And what if we don't want to become like you? What if we don't want to be Deathworlders? Chen finished for her. Ambassador, you don't have to become us. But you do need to understand us. Because one day, you might need to fight beside us, or against us. As SCiFi left the room, troubled by Chen's words, alarms began blaring throughout the academy. Chen's comm unit crackled to life, and her face paled as she listened to the message. Ambassador, she called out, her voice tight with urgency. I'm afraid our simulations just became reality. We've detected an unidentified fleet entering the solar system, and they're not responding to hails. The real test, it seemed, was about to begin. Real threat emerges. The Terran Combined Forces Academy transformed into a hive of activity. Alarms blared, personnel rushed to battle stations, and the alien students found themselves caught in a whirlwind of organized chaos. General Chen strode purposefully through the corridors, barking orders into her comm unit. Ambassador SCiFi hurried to keep pace, her tentacles quivering with a mix of fear and excitement. General, SCiFi called out. What's happening? Who's attacking? Chen's face was grim as she responded. We're not sure yet. The fleet doesn't match any known signatures. They're not responding to hails, and they're on an attack vector. We have to assume hostile intent. They entered the Academy's command center, a vast room filled with holographic displays and bustling with human officers. Chen turned to address the alien students who had followed them in. Listen up, she commanded, her voice cutting through the noise. This is no longer a simulation. Earth is under attack, and like it or not, you're now part of our defense force. Everything you've learned in the past weeks, it's time to put it into practice. Grash stepped forward, his massive form towering over most humans. General, with all due respect, we're students, not soldiers. We can't possibly. Chen cut him off. You can, and you will. Earth has protocols for this situation. We're activating the Omega Directive. Every able body becomes a defender, including you. The aliens exchanged nervous glances. Vix, the Torellian, spoke up. What would you have us do, General? A ghost of a smile flickered across Chen's face. What we've been training you for. To think like humans. To adapt. To survive. She gestured to the main holographic display, which showed the approaching fleet. We've detected 27 ships. Configuration unknown. They'll be in weapons range in 2 hours. Our job is to defend Earth at all costs. Chen began assigning roles. Grash and his fellow Cronin were tasked with coordinating ground defenses. Vix and a team of the more agile species were assigned to fighter squadrons. Lori, the Mendaxian who had shown a knack for strategic thinking, was brought into the command staff. As the aliens scrambled to their posts, SCiFi approached Chen. General, I must contact the Galactic Confederation. We need reinforcements. Chen nodded. Do it, but don't expect them to arrive in time. We're on our own for now. The next 2 hours were a flurry of preparation. The alien students, drawing on their recent training, threw themselves into their tasks with unexpected fervor. They were no longer passive learners. They were fighting for survival alongside their human teachers. As the enemy fleet entered the solar system, the first images of the ships came through. A collective gasp went up in the command center. The vessels were biomechanical monstrosities, writhing tentacles melded with metal, pulsing with an eerie organic light. "By the cosmic void," SCiFi whispered. "It's not the swarm. It's worse. It's the amalgam." Chen's eyes narrowed. "I've never heard of them. What are we dealing with, Ambassador?" SCiFi's skin had paled to a sickly blue. "They're a legend, a nightmare story told to scare young ones, a race that consumes and assimilates other species, incorporating their strengths. We never thought they were real." A grim silence fell over the room, broken by the beeping of proximity alarms. The amalgam fleet had entered Mars orbit and showed no signs of slowing. Chen's voice was steel as she addressed the room. "Real or not, they're here now, and we're going to show them why you don't attack a death world." She turned to Lori. "What's your assessment?" The Mendaxian studied the tactical display, her multiple eyes blinking rapidly. "Their ships appear to be growing, evolving in real time. Conventional tactics won't work. We need to be unpredictable, creative." Chen nodded. "Good. What do you propose?" Lori hesitated for a moment, then spoke with growing confidence. "We use Earth itself as a weapon. The gravity, the magnetosphere, even the space debris. We lure them in close, then hit them with everything we've got." "It's risky," Chen mused. "If it fails, they'll be right on top of us." "With all due respect, General," Grashk interjected, "isn't that the human way? High risk, high reward." A predatory grin spread across Chen's face. "Damn right it is. Let's do it." The plan was set in motion. Earth's defensive fleet took up seemingly haphazard positions, looking for all the world like a disorganized mess. The amalgam, sensing easy prey, moved in for the kill. That's when all hell broke loose. Hidden missiles launched from the dark side of the moon, their electromagnetic pulses disrupting the amalgam's biomechanical systems. Fighters piloted by humans and aliens alike swarmed from concealed bases on Mars, striking with surgical precision. On Chen's command, vast electromagnetic generators buried in Earth's polar regions activated, creating a plasma storm that engulfed the nearby amalgam ships. The bizarre vessels writhed in apparent agony as their organic components rebelled against their mechanical parts. But the amalgam were not so easily defeated. As their ships faltered, they launched thousands of pods towards Earth, boarding parties ready to assimilate the planet's population. Chen's voice rang out over the comms. "This is it, people. The real fight starts now. Defend your positions, protect the civilians, and remember, we are not going quietly into the night." As the first amalgam pods breached Earth's atmosphere, SCiFi found herself standing shoulder to tentacle with General Chen. The human's eyes blazed with a fierce determination that the ambassador was starting to understand. "I think," SCiFi said softly, "I finally see why the galaxy fears and respects humanity." Chen checked the charge on her pulse rifle. "Fear and respect are good, Ambassador. But right now, I'll settle for them learning to regret ever coming here." With that, they stepped out to face the oncoming storm, the fate of Earth, and perhaps the galaxy, hanging in the balance. The final stand. The skies over Earth burned. Amalgam pods streaked through the atmosphere, leaving trails of sickly green fire. On the ground, chaos reigned as the first wave of invaders made landfall. General Chen stood atop the Academy's defense tower, surveying the battlefield. Beside her, Ambassador SCiFi watched in horrified fascination as humans and their alien students rallied to meet the threat. "I've never seen anything like this," SCiFi whispered, her tentacles curling in distress. Chen's voice was grim but steady. "Welcome to war on a death world, Ambassador. This is what we've been preparing for." Across the globe, the lessons of the past weeks were put into brutal practice. Grashk and his Cronin team had fortified key positions with a creativity that would have impressed even the most seasoned human engineers. Makeshift traps and barricades turned city streets into deadly mazes for the invaders. In the skies, Vix led a squadron of fighters in maneuvers that defied conventional tactics. The Tyrellians' natural agility, combined with human unpredictability, kept the amalgam flyers off balance and disoriented. But it was Lori, the quiet Mendaxian, who truly shone. From her position in the command center, she coordinated a defense that adapted in real time to the amalgam's ever-changing strategies. Her multiple eyes took in streams of data, finding patterns where others saw only chaos. "General," Lori's voice crackled over the comm. "I've detected a pattern in the amalgam's movements. They're not just random attacks. They're searching for something." Chen frowned. What could they be looking for? "I'm not sure, but—" Lori's voice cut off as an explosion rocked the command center. "Lori, report." Chen barked into her comm. Static was her only answer. Zixera's skin paled. "They've breached the academy defenses." Chen's eyes hardened. "Then it's time we taught them the final lesson about fighting humans." She turned to the alien students gathered around her. "This is it. Everything you've learned, everything you've become. It all comes down to this moment. We're not just fighting for Earth. We're fighting for every free species in the galaxy." The general hefted her pulse rifle. "The amalgam think they can assimilate us, use our strengths against us, but they don't understand what it means to be human. We don't just adapt, we evolve. We don't just survive, we thrive. And we sure as hell don't go down without one hell of a fight." A roar of approval went up from humans and aliens alike. As one, they charged into the fray. The battle that followed would be spoken of in whispered awe for generations to come. Humans fought with a ferocity that stunned even their alien allies. But more than that, they fought smart. When conventional weapons proved ineffective against the amalgam's adaptive armor, soldiers improvised with whatever was at hand. Construction foam became a sticky trap for the invaders' biomechanical limbs. Sonic devices, hastily repurposed from civilian tech, disrupted the enemy's hive mind communication. The alien students, once overwhelmed by human methods, now embraced them fully. Grashk used his massive strength not for brute force attacks, but to trigger landslides that buried amalgam forces. Vix's aerial team employed chaotic, unpredictable flight patterns that lured enemy flyers into carefully laid traps. In the shattered remains of the command center, Lori worked feverishly. Her keen mind had noticed something others had missed, a pattern in the amalgam search. They were homing in on Earth's most powerful energy sources. "General," she called out, her voice hoarse from the acrid smoke, "I know what they're after. They're trying to reach our fusion plants. If they assimilate that technology, they'd be unstoppable." Chen finished grimly. "Not on our watch." The defense shifted. Every fusion plant became a fortress, guarded by the fiercest combinations of human and alien defenders. The amalgam, sensing their prize slipping away, redoubled their efforts. The battle reached its crescendo at the largest fusion facility in North America. Wave after wave of amalgam forces crashed against the human defenses. For hours, the outcome hung in the balance. It was there, in the heart of the chaos, that Zixera found her courage. The ambassador, who had always seen diplomacy as the answer, took up a fallen soldier's weapon. Standing shoulder to tentacle with General Chen, she fought with a determination that surprised even herself. As dawn broke on the second day of fighting, something unprecedented happened. The amalgam, for the first time in their long history of conquest, began to retreat. Lori's voice, thick with exhaustion but triumphant, came over the comms. "General, they're pulling back. Our unpredictability, our adaptability. They can't assimilate it fast enough. We've overwhelmed their ability to evolve." A ragged cheer went up from the defenders. But Chen's voice cut through the celebration. "Don't let up. Push them back, off our world." The counterattack was swift and merciless. Human ships, joined by the alien students who had become their brothers and sisters in arms, harried the retreating amalgam fleet. Within hours, Earth's skies were clear of invaders. In the aftermath, as the dust settled and the true scale of the devastation became clear, Chen found Zixera staring out at the horizon. "Penny for your thoughts, Ambassador," the general asked. Zixera turned, her eyes filled with a new understanding. I think I finally grasp what you've been trying to teach us, General. It's not about the tactics or the technology. It's about the spirit. Chen nodded. The human spirit. Unbreakable, unyielding, and endlessly adaptive. Not just human, Zixera corrected. Look around you. Chen did. She saw Grashk, battered but unbowed, helping clear rubble. Vix, streaked with engine oil, was already planning improvements to their fighter designs. Lori sat amidst a sea of data screens, analyzing the amalgam's tactics for future reference. Your students, Zixera continued, they've become something new. Not quite human, but no longer the same beings who arrived here weeks ago. You've taught them to think like humans, to fight like humans, to survive like humans, Chen finished. Zixera's skin rippled with determination. The Galactic Confederation needs to understand this. We've been hiding from the horrors of the universe, hoping they pass us by. But you've shown us another way. A way to stand and fight. Chen placed a hand on Zixera's shoulder. Then that will be your mission, Ambassador. Teach them what you've learned here. Prepare them. Prepare them? Zixera asked. For what? Chen's gaze turned to the stars, just visible in the clearing sky. For whatever's coming next. Because if there's one thing humans know for certain, it's that there's always another challenge on the horizon. And we'll be ready for it. As cleanup efforts began around them, a new sense of purpose filled the air. Humans and aliens working side by side, rebuilding and preparing. The amalgam had come expecting to find easy prey on this death world. Instead, they had awakened something far more powerful, a united front of species ready to fight for their place in the galaxy. The first lesson of human warfare had been learned. Never underestimate the inhabitants of the death world. They just might surprise you.